Yeah, I mean the circuit is it's the complete opposite of the Caesar's Palace one, and it looks like when you compare the two next to each other, because they're literally just over the road, it is enormous in comparison as well.
If Liberty Media is trying to replace Monaco with this, it's extremely bad. I don't think it will happen, but yeah.
Oh, do you want to tempt fate, mate? I don't know if that's fate that you want to tempt with Liberty Media and their endless push to sort of, make F1 what they want it to be. Like, yeah, you know what's funny? Like, we were talking about Caesar's Palace track. How they wouldn't have been able to get into top gear at that track. Well, in this one, they can't get out of it. Like, it's going to be crazy the speeds that they're going to be doing on this track. And like, do they actually legit have 2 DRS zones on the back straight? Or is this some kind of Mandela effect thing?
I don't know how that would work. That would you close it and then open it again while still going full throttle. I mean,
at that stage, you're at the top of the rev range.
They don't need any DRS zones. That's the thing. I mean, because I said it before, and I put this on Twitter. This back straight, it's 1.7 miles long. Baku's, including those kinks, is 1.3, and the Mistral straight at Paul Ricard without the chicane is 1.25. Like, the only longest straights in F1 history have been the back straight at the Nordschleife, and then Pescara and Avis. Like, that's how long the straight is on this track. That's cheating. Yeah, I mean, Avis is just straights if you want to, but yeah. It is about the same length as the back straight on the Nordschleife, and it's more than twice as long as the straights on like Shanghai, Yong'an, Monza, Bud. Like, it's huge. I think the only thing that's going to stop the tires exploding is that it's going to be freezing cold, not the tires, the engine.
Yeah, actually, on those temperatures, we've got the scenario where we're going to have bitterly cold temperatures where the drivers are going to struggle to get the tires up to temperature as they are. And like at the start of the race, you're going to have drivers that are going to be barreling into that turn at the end of the strip with lukewarm tires and brakes that aren't fully up to temperature, all slipstreaming each other. This race, I mean, everyone's spelling doom for it, but I'm more looking at it and going, we could have one of the wackiest, not in a good way, races in recent memory. Fuck it, I'll just say right now, I think we're going to get Lance Stroll winning this race. Not necessarily on merit, but by virtue of the fact of just staying alive.
I think there's a really good point, Josh, and I think the drivers that are good at heating up their tires with aggressive inputs will also have an advantage. I'm looking at Alonso and Hamilton, not because they're Alonso and Hamilton, but because they're aggressive and they usually generate tire temps. I think the drivers with a smoother driving style will be suffering this weekend because there's going to be cold tires everywhere. And those that can switch on the tires will be those that will effectively be challenging for the win. So we may be able to see a wacky result, as you put it. But I also think that in many ways, you could go the other way and say that the car that generates the most downforce will generate tire temperature and thus will have an advantage. So you could be looking at an absurd Red Bull 1-2 because nobody else can switch on their tires because they don't have the same downforce as the Red Bull. I mean,
I was going to say, Ciaron, were you trying to imply that a 33 might finally be coming? But
I mean, first of all, Alonso doesn't have 32 wins. I don't count Singapore, so like, that's fine. Like, you can say it's 33rd, but like that 32nd, that Singapore Grand Prix was not a proper win. So sure, yeah, his 33rd, he's on the cards. But as Josh said, it could be Lance Stroll. I don't know. It could be a wacky.
That as well, yeah.
I think Alonso and Hamilton will be strong this weekend. Let me be honest. I think they're going to be really up there because they're great.
I don't know if their cars will, though. The thing, like, because the other thing about the cold temperatures, apparently, because it makes the air denser, that's going to increase drag, indirectly increase downforce, but it's going to make their cars even draggier on the straights.
Yeah, I'm scared Aston is going to have a top speed of 150 miles per hour.
It's gonna be like when Tyrrell still had a naturally aspirated car and everyone else was running turbos, and they were like 40 miles per hour slower on the straights than everyone. That's what it's gonna be.
when I talk about these sort of wacky results and whatever have you, they're wacky because not a lot of elements of the race were predictable in the first place. We talk about, what could be a factor. For argument's sake, all right, they go barreling down into that corner on the first lap. Someone misses the braking marker, goes too deep, whatever, takes out 3 or 4 cars or whatever have you, brings out a red flag, and that changes the complex of the entire race just on its own. Anything can happen in this race. There are so many unknowns going into here, and we would like to think in a lot of circumstances that we know what's going to happen. In the best of circumstances, where you go to a contemporary track and you be like, oh well, so and so should be fast here. Sometimes it just doesn't work like that. With this one, it's on the extreme end of the scale. We're not really sure of a lot of things heading into this race, which is a good thing. It would help if we had a tire war, but we could have a boring race, we could have a exciting race, whatever have you. But it is kind of a nice aspect to be heading into a Grand Prix weekend, not really sure what the hell's going to happen.
I mean, I hate this race already and everything it stands for, and Twitter is just going to be unbearable this week. The levels of cringe are just going to go through the roof, but I'm still kind of living for it and still really want to see what happens.
No, and actually the levels of cringe will be all-time levels of cringe, because we already discussed this, but they had advertisements for actors to act like fans at the circuit. I don't want to even see these interviews during the race weekend where they ask an actor who's being paid $500 to act like he's an F1 fan, and they say, who do you think is going to win? He's like, oh, Alain Prost. Like, it's going to be painful to watch this, because we know
because they were charging several $1,000s for tickets.
I know
as well. That's why no one's going to it, because they can't afford it.
And you might have seen the prices have gone down to like $160 now. So
yeah. I mean, to be fair, my flatmate's going, so I'll probably get a report from him. But otherwise, it's just attendance is not brilliant because it's so expensive.
$160. That's for, is it Thursday or Friday? Which is funny, because if you're going to the Thursday one, on the bloody time zones are going to be the death of me. But they were selling tickets to Wednesday, which has no on-track action. And there were tickets being sold with no views of the track. No, literally, GA tickets were about $500, where you would be given no view of the track. Who the hell pays that?
Well, the people that go for glamour and don't actually care about F1 would be my first.
Oh
guess.
yeah, go for the glamour. Go for the glamour. I got me a general admission ticket. Yeah.
Give those to the celebrities that Martin Brundle tries to interview and just pretend he isn't there on the grid or something.
Talking about the cringe, I'm not sure how many of you watch football, but you might know how there's expected goals in football now, so XG. What is your X-Rick for this weekend? How many videos are we going to see of Daniel Ricciardo across the weekend? I'm thinking like 11.
This race is the only reason he's still in Formula One. Like this and Drive to Survive. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I completely agree with that.
Ferrari are going to be insufferable with all the little games and whatever they make Charles and Carlos do. And I don't know.
It's apt entertainment right up until they somehow fuck up the race on Sunday.
I feel like it's going to have vibes of the first Jeddah race in terms of like, why are we racing at this circuit? The car's just not. Maybe. Yeah, I mean they're doing that opening ceremony as well, like they did in Miami, and it's funny. They're going to hype all the drivers up, and they're just going to walk straight forward and maybe wave once and just go and sit down. Like no one's going to even make an effort, like it's the WWE, and they've got this choreographed dance as they walk around the ramp to the ring.
Yeah. I will say this, though. If you were to just, money aside, all right, take the cost of grandstands tickets out of the equation. As an event, would you go to this?
Yes, because it's in Vegas. Like, that's the thing. It has the vibe. If it was just in the middle of the desert, like no. But because it's in Vegas, I could be persuaded to go.
Wait.
Yes,
Can
here.
you repeat that story? My
Why-
brain,
why-
my
why
brain is
Vegas?
slow right
Like,
now. What did you say there?
You a gambler? Like, I don't understand. Like, who cares?
No, I'm not. I'm not. No. But still, Vegas.
Peter
I
Brook
haven't been.
exposed on the podcast.
I'm not. No, I'm not like that. But no, it's still Vegas. I feel like you have to try it once in your life. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be one of the
maybe,
persons.
but-
I'll
That's
put
fair,
a
that's
couple of
fair.
coins in a slot. I'll put a couple of coins in a slot machine, and then I can say yes. I've gambled in Vegas. Like,
Oh, the house is going to keep you there
Yeah.
for longer, mate.
That's
oh yeah,
that's
I'll just
fair.
put,
Yeah.
put a tenner on roulette wheel. I don't know.
Was
think,
my
yeah.
brain slow there, or did you say I'd like to go to Vegas, but I don't want to go to a race in the desert?
Well, no. What I meant.
Isn't
Okay,
Vegas
I meant
the
the.
desert?
No. Sorry, I meant like the
I
desert.
know
as if
what you meant. I know what you meant. I know what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
meant. I was just taking the piss.
It's in the middle of but yeah, no, it's because of the location. If it was in the middle of nowhere, there's no incentive to go, but because it's in
Yeah,
Vegas,
yeah.
This is the whole point of it.
Especially if you're a bachelor. A bachelor that's a racing fan. Oh, God help you if you are. But this does look pretty damn cool to go to. But at the same time, it is such an obvious money milking exercise, and it's just basically, the promoters and F1 saying, "To hell with you peasants. Anyone that can afford this is going to come here." And we're going to take every damn cent that they've got. There's a hospitality package that was sold by Resorts World where, it was pretty extensive. But someone legit forked out $888,000 for the weekend. Come on. For Formula One.
And I guarantee you, they probably don't even know who Max Verstappen is, too. Like,
Exactly. And that's bad for the
Yeah.
sport. Because those aren't really motorsport fans, and if you
Having
alienate
said
your
that,
core fan,
how much does it cost to moor a yacht in the harbour in Monaco?
yeah, but
Because there's a
Monaco is-
lot of people that go to Monaco and don't know a damn thing about motor racing, but they're there for the glitz and glamour. They're there for the cameras.
that's such a unique track, and it's a thrilling track. I mean, Sector 3 is kind of
100%,
iconic.
the
Vegas
thing
is
again,
not.
Monaco, it has history, legacy, and heritage, and this doesn't have that.
Exactly.
Like,
It
It
yeah,
does.
nothing.
It's had 2 races. Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quite the same. I mean, I will give them credit with this circuit is they have utilized the city really well, because the other one you could have, it's like you're in Vegas and you've just made a track in a parking lot. You could have put that anywhere, but with this, they've actually made very good use of the city and the streets to build this.
It's spectacular. It is utterly spectacular, that track. That other one could have been in Reno for all we know. You wouldn't have noticed. But yeah, like as a spectacle, this is gonna be as a spectacle, it's gonna be spectacular. My grammar and vocabulary are amazing. Look, it'll be cool to see, I think is one way to put it. Whether the track racing will be good or not, I think is going to really depend upon, how drivers react within the first couple of laps of this race.
How
I
long do
think
they have
now
a
that I've
contract
said
for?
that,
How
until
long is
2032.
Vegas on 32?
Oh god, they haven't got it on that long, have they? Oh,
No, they
Jesus.
have.
Okay, I thought this was going to be it happens
32?
twice, and we're gonna see it's going to be viewed in the future like Caesar's Palace and Dallas as one of those just weird races we had in the past.
Yeah, I
that
thought
flopped.
this was for 3 years, not
Yeah.
10.
Sao Paulo's
So-
renewal doesn't even go that far, and neither
No, I
does
mean,
Spa.
Listen, I mean, contracts can be broken, and we desperately hope that this one will. But we'll see what happens, because at the end of the day, you can go to a big name city if there's no grassroots interest, if there's no, affordability so core fans can attend, if the track is boring and people don't like it, it's not going to be good return on your investment.
Nah.
Look at Korea. Korea is like a giant economy, relatively big. And when F1 went there, they thought, oh, we're going to penetrate more of East Asia. There was like 5 people in the grandstands after the first race. In
To be fair, it
2013.
was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And
It was built on a
Yeah,
slot.
Gundam is
Like, yeah.
But then guess what? Like if American interest one day wanes or this thing doesn't hold up, then maybe people won't attend this race. I mean, look at Caesar's Palace. It was in Vegas, and we could see from the grandstands it was empty. So you could throw
Yeah.
money at the first race. It can be glitz and glamour, but like at the end of the day, um, you know, I believe that you need more than that to be a permanent track in Formula One. You need to have
Mm.
racing pedigree and you need to provide good racing. And maybe I'm wrong and we'll just be going to big name cities in the future. But I do feel like, we have a lot we're going to see how this plays out. From what I've heard so far, I'm not that excited, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
It sounds like somewhere that Formula E would go to make waves. Doesn't sound like a Formula One race at all.
Yeah, I do get Formula E vibes. Other than the size of the circuit, I mean, they would be going at a snail's pace if you put Formula E cars on this track, but it does give that
Yeah,
vibe,
just like
definitely.
crunch it down, and it looks like Formula E could have done.
I mean, the circuit would need to be half as wide as well for it to be Formula E friendly, I guess. But yeah, one thing that also annoys me, and this is where Josh, for one of the few times in the season, has time zone privilege, is that because it's on at 6 a.m. in the UK, and I'm probably not going to get up for that, and there'd be a replay a few hours later. But with Australia and Japan, every time we've had replays on Sky, I tune in when it says it's going to happen, and because there's been red flags and delays, you tune in and they're showing the end of the race, or they're showing a replay and like, here's him winning the title. It's like, do you not realize everyone's tuning in to see what's going to happen? And it's like, let's give everyone spoilers at the exact time when we knew this was going to do, or let's do Ted's notebook for 2 hours when we know no one's watching because they're still in bed. And so if it is a crazy race, I'll tune in at 9:30 and have to just glance quickly and make sure I don't see anything that looks like a spoiler. And if it just starts normally, it's like, okay, it's been a boring race then and nothing's happened. But
One thing I want to quickly add before you guys continue is that I'm looking at the actual contract here, and the actual track is scheduled to be held until 2025 and will now be extended through 2032. After a motion that was approved that will close down the strip and surrounding areas to have the race each year for the next decade. It's a 3-year contract, and then they have a pathway to be able to do it for at least 10 years and then beyond. So it looks like the 3-year contract is what's set in stone, and then the other 10 years is like pending, basically. It's like
Right.
it's not like
I think what they've done is a sort of, if one person likes this post, we'll extend the contract by 10
3
years.
plus
or
10,
something.
basically.
And then they like their own post and go, say no more. Like, yeah, they'll see one person at the grandstand, see, it's success, let's go here forever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's like a 3 plus 10. It's like a 3-year contract with a 10-year option, basically. So yeah.
It's a difficult one because I mean we talk about Monaco and about Liberty Media trying to replace it. There was talk of Miami being that race, but this is where F1 needs to be careful. Like that Miami race, when it first came out, generated a lot of intrigue. There were a lot of people on you, and including myself, that were looking at options to go because that looked really cool. Spend a week over in Miami, especially if you haven't been there, just to get away. And you've got the Grand Prix there as well. That sounded extremely awesome. Then the ticket prices came out. It's like, okay, bugger that. I'll just, I'll go to my local race. And then the next year, it was even more expensive. And that stretched people too far. And they're like, no, I'm not going to pay that. Bugger that. And they were struggling to sell out those tickets even at the dying days of selling them. With Las Vegas, it's even more exaggerated. And it's not even a complete sellout yet. Which, I mean, it's clutching at straws. We're talking about a few seats. But if they head into next year with the same mentality as Miami, they're going to have a real hard time selling a lot of those tickets. And if that happens, what's the domino effect from there? They got to tread carefully here. It's expensive as it is. Like, of all 3 American races, Vegas intrigues me more. But in terms of like a sort of vacation away to the United States for a race, but they've really got to be careful here, because if the popularity of F1's waning a little bit here, then they can't just keep on extending these ticket prices, because it'll be, proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, So, I don't know.
Especially if they're appealing to celebrities who are there only to be there. They might have a very bad surprise if the sport starts getting unpopular and the celebrities are not turning up anymore. It becomes a vicious circle of less money, less attraction, less fans, less money, and it keeps going.
I think with Miami, they had the mentality, oh, well, this year the water isn't painted on, so let's double the ticket prices.
I mean, you're joking, but that might genuinely be it.
Yeah. Real marina, so now we can charge more and pretend that we're Monaco with 100% more hurricanes.
Yeah. They should really just shut that circuit down. It's awful. So
yeah, Vegas is doing everything that Miami does, and it's probably going to do it better. So they don't need both of them.
Okay.
Do they use Miami for any other category, or is it just F1?
No.
It spends the rest of the year as a parking lot, so yeah, they can't really use it regularly. I feel like we should, if we're going to have 3 races in the US, we should have 2 serious ones and 1 joke one, not 2 joke ones and 1 serious one.
I think it should be Indianapolis and Sonoma, and then maybe Road America and Watkins Glen. That's it. I mean, I don't understand what all this other stuff is about. Like, really?
Yeah, because Pato O'Ward, he drove the MP423 at Sonoma yesterday. So I guess
Sonoma's a great track. Great track.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying this? That of all the street circuits that have been in Formula One for America, Phoenix was the only one that did not come into contact with a parking lot either before or after.
I think so, because it was right in the center of the city. Because Detroit was on the waterfront,
and it went through a couple of parking lots.
Dallas
was
mostly parking lots. Riverside wasn't. Oh, that's not a street circuit.
Riverside was a permanent racetrack.
Yeah. That wasn't a street circuit, of course.
Long Beach, last sector, had a lot of parking lot in it.
Yes.
It still does.
Yeah.
And what am I missing out on?
Sebring is built on an airfield, so that's
so that doesn't count. Oh, this
Watkins
is going
Glen's
smoothly.
original, Indy's original,
and this Vegas one. No, the 2 Vegas ones. So Caesar's Palace was all parking lot, and
this one
the
does
Vegas
a little
one,
bit.
Well, I mean, it pretty much does, because that first sector, the pit straight and what comes after it, that goes through a former parking lot. So, yeah.
I think just over the road from it, there's like a strip club or something with a massive billboard above it as well. So I think that's intentional for location.
God save us all.
Lot to look forward to. A lot of things that were discussed here will be tried and tested this weekend. So, I'm looking forward to it anyways, but I don't have high expectations. Anyways.
It would be extremely underwhelming after this superb conversation that it ends up being a Red Bull 1-2 and third place is Lando or something.
I'm predicting that Alonso Hamilton.
Everyone finishes as well.
Apart from like
team
an Alfa Romeo having an issue on their engine because they need to do something.
Yeah, they'll just retire Zhou for Bantz every week.
I'll go against the grain here. I think we're going to get a good race.
Yeah, it depends if it really is as cold as they say. Because when they said, "Oh, it could get down to 5 degrees," and I looked at the forecast, it was like 11 or 12. So okay, that's not 5. That's still for F1. That is still pretty cold, and that's pretty much going to be the track temperature because there's no sun and the lack of humidity. It's not going to hold the heat well because I think during the day it's going to be about 20, 21, which is pretty mild because again it's November.
If it snowed, would they allow that? Like would they allow the cars to race in snow conditions or no?
They'll red flag this if there's a single drop of rain.
I hope the track is super slippery either because of snow or just random reasons, because that's the one kind of conditions where the senile old driver that I support really shines through. So if the truck is as that's how I call him, and how the Spanish fans call him as well. So if the truck is as bad as we think it might be, I would love it.
Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to remember here, but a lot of that track is newly paved tarmac. There are no support categories this weekend, so the only things out there laying rubber down are the F1 cars and Burn Mylander when Sargent throws it into the wall again. And, so we have that, but rain may come on Thursday or Friday and wash all the rubber away. So what you end up with, come race day, potentially, is a track that's greener than goose shit, which people will have not a lot of knowledge on. And, as a track, the very characteristics of it is completely different from almost everything we've ever had. The closest thing I could think of was Sakir 2020. And sort of that big, open, almost oval kind of layout.
So Checo is going to win and get a 2-year contract from it.
Yes, exactly. Maybe.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. I don't.
Who's gonna play the part of George Russell? We're gonna have Liam Lawson in the Red Bull, or God forbid, even
for
Drogovic.
God's sake, don't do that to me. Not my massive bias and patriotism.
No.
Oh, right. He's from New Zealand. I forgot about that. That's
It's gonna
right.
be,
Yeah.
it's gonna have elements of that. But I was also thinking Turkey 2020 because they'd like glazed the circuit or something, so it was like an ice rink. And even
So
when it
Lance
was dry,
is going to get pole position, and Checo is going to win and get a 2-year contract.
What's true
That's what I was
DRS
thinking
is
of
on this
really
podcast.
necessary.
this is what I said before, because you said Lance Stroll might win. It's like, well, to be fair, if it's really slippery, that's the only time he seems to drive well. So maybe he could.